live as well.
Good afternoon. We are going to, I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Council Budget and Finance Committee. I'll just, I guess we can let the record reflect that I'll just call upon them. Council Member Wahab, are you here?
Here.
Council Member Lamnon?
Here.
And myself, the Mayor, Barbara Halliday, are all here. So we will move on to the first item on our agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the March 17th meeting.
So moved. Can I just highlight, I just want this for the record, my question on, I think the minutes in section, I want to say 1, maybe 2.
No, wait a minute. Yes, there is a notation under 1. Yes, that you, so go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not sure how there's a notation because I haven't submitted anything, but so I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing, but.
No. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so it's just in regards to the seniors, I just want to frame it accordingly. The framework was more understanding why and addressing why potentially seniors feel the need to call the police and understand that and survey them as to what are their needs and so much more around policing.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Let me find that. It's under. Yes. Okay. It's the first bullet on the top of the second page, but it's under number 2 on the agenda. So it states that Councilmember Wahab requested that the workshops include seniors and middle-aged community members in stakeholder interviews, citing concern that the workshop in key areas were skewed toward younger community members. So did you have an issue with that?
Yeah. So the framework is more to understand what, like, hopefully being able to survey middle-aged / seniors as to what are their concerns around policing, what are their needs around policing, things like that. That was my the point
what we actually did during the surveys that were conducted.
So I just want to highlight that was the comment of the framework of what I meant when I said this. So
we can have staff go back and listen to the recording again and share that with you and figure out how to propose to edit the minutes. That probably easiest.
Aren't we?
We can just bring them.
Other than that, would you like to second?
Second, yes.
And all in favor, I believe we all are. Any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Thank you for that announcement. Did you all hear that?
Yes.
Sometimes you don't know if it's only your own device or something. Okay. The next item on our agenda is a review and comments on the proposed new format for the recommended FY 2022 to FY 2031 capital improvement program. So this is not a discussion of the capital improvement program, correct? It is a discussion of the format that it is coming out on.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, committee members, and good evening. As some of us remember, years ago, staff used to develop the city CIP budget in a hard copy format, then send it out for printing and binding, and then hard copies would be distributed to interested parties. More recently, CIP is published in PDF book format, which is designed for printing. However, since the document is mainly accessed and used online, staff has experimented with developing the FY22 CIP in an online-friendly format. This also allows staff to provide more information about the projects. While there are some advantages to online format, currently there are some limitations as well. The software is not fully developed now for wider use. Staff would like to take this opportunity to discuss this new format with the committee and receive your feedback. Ellie Lowe and Kate Byrne, Management Analysts in Public Works and Utilities, are here to present the report. And I believe that Kate is going to start it off. Kate?
Yes, thank you, Alex. So I'm going to dive right in and share my screen with you all so I can provide a tour of the format. So give me one moment while I screen share. All right, can everyone see my web browser?
Yeah.
Excellent. So the CIP, the recommended fiscal year 22 CIP, as well as all other CIPs, are included on our City of Hayward website at hayward-ca.gov/CIP. As you can see here, we have a lot of our historic CIPs included at the bottom of the page, and the current recommended fiscal year 22 CIP is the very first link that you'll see here. So access to the new online platform can be found here. There is also a printable PDF version that has been put together because we recognize there still remains a need to print this document. So that printable PDF can be found by clicking at the link here. As Alex alluded, there are some limitations to the PDF format that I can elaborate more on during the tour. But it does have all of the key budget insights, and it's still a great resource for printing the document. However, it is recommended to view the online CIP at this link whenever possible. So I'm going to click on the new online format link, and it's going to take us to the main homepage of the online CIP. As you can see, it has a very picture-centric cover. This is a picture of a rendering of the South Hayward Youth and Family Center. There's a caption, and beneath that, we've divided the CIP into three main sections, including the introduction section, the strategic priorities section, and the explore the budget section. The introduction section is very similar to introduction documents that are included in the historic CIPs. The strategic priorities section provides information about our projects which align with the strategic priorities, and the explore the budget section has some of the key budget insights. And beneath that, another very important link is our table of contents link, which provides a framework of the organization of the online CIP and is helpful for quickly navigating to certain pages once you have a lay of the land. So first, I'm going to click on the introduction section, and that immediately brought us to another introduction page with a brief overview of the CIP process and some of those pages I mentioned, which we always include in the CIP, including a page to see the pictures of the elected officials. I'm going to exit out of the tab to go back to the introduction section, and I'm going to click on the organizational chart. And here is an image of our organizational chart, again, just like you would see in any of the historic CIPs. One added bonus of being able to feature the document in this online platform is that depending on the device you're using, it's a lot easier to zoom in and out as necessary on some of these sometimes harder to read PDFs within the book. Going to back out and go back to the introduction section, and now I'm going to click on the transmittal letter link. This is the text of the transmittal letter from the city manager to the city council. Again, this is just like the transmittal letter that is included in all of our historic CIPs. So I'm going to exit out of the introduction section, and from the home page, now I'm going to click on our strategic priorities section. The strategic priorities section features information about the strategic priorities, features the graphic that accompanies the strategic priorities, and down below is some information about projects which align with the strategic priorities. This is not an exhaustive list. It's simply a list of some of the projects that have featured pages within the new online CIP and which align with these priorities. And you would be able to click on any of these links to get more information about the projects, but I'm not going to click on any project pages just yet. First, I'm going to return to the home page, and now I'm going to dive into the Explore the Budget section. From this section, as I mentioned, this is just an overview of our key budget insights. As you can see here, the proposed fiscal year 22 CIP includes a budget of $158 million, and the proposed 10-year total is about $562 million. Beneath that are some of the other key insights that we always include in the CIP, including proposed general fund transfers, proposed internal service fees, and the total identified and unfunded capital needs. You can learn more about the proposed general fund transfers and ISF by clicking on either of these links to learn more, which I've just done. And as you can see here, we've included some charts which look just like the charts that have been included in prior CIPs, with a breakdown of the recommended ISF funding and a breakdown of the recommended general fund transfers. And additionally, with the total identified and unfunded capital needs, you can also click here to learn more and see a graphic which includes all of the projects currently recommended for inclusion on our unfunded needs list, their 10-year totals, and then the total amount overall at the very bottom of the graphic. So returning to our budget overview page, from here, we have split the recommended budget into really two ways of presenting the same information. You can either view the total budgets by fund or the total budgets by category. As you can see here, both reflect that total recommended $158 million for fiscal year 22. In order to start diving into the budgets by fund, you simply need to click on either this link or the link at the very bottom here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the very top link. And first and foremost, on this fund portfolio page, you can see a pie chart which displays funding types and the budget allocation recommended for inclusion within these types. The same exact information is presented in this table down below, and you can actually expand any of these funding types, for instance, the enterprise funds, and you can see all of the different funds which comprise that section of the pie chart above. You can scroll down or you can scroll across to see all the way to fiscal year 2031. This is an example of a table that won't show up perfectly in the PDF version because the PDF version can only PDF this snapshot that you see right here. It doesn't allow any kind of scrolling functionality. So this is an example of a table that wouldn't seamlessly translate into the PDF document, but all of the information is available here online. And moving down below these tables is our fund portfolio. So that this includes a list of all of our various funds, including the special revenue funds, the CIP funds, the enterprise funds, and the ISF funds. In each of these categories, there are, of course, the fund numbers and titles. There's a very brief description of what the fund is. And if you actually click on any of these links, you can learn more about the fund and the projects proposed for inclusion within them. For purposes of this training, I'm going to click on Fund 406 for Measure C Capital. So this is an example of one of the fund pages, which again includes a description of the fund, and it also includes a table with all of the projects within this fund and their recommended budgets in fiscal year 22 onward. You can find those by scrolling to the right once again. Below the table that features all of the projects is an opportunity to view the entire fund summary sheet. This sheet is going to look very familiar because it's identical to the sheets that have been distributed in past CIPs. It includes additional information like revenue, sources, and fund balance calculations. And I'm actually going to click on this one to show you what I mean. So as you can see here, this is just a standard fund summary sheet that should look familiar from past CIPs. Now I've clicked back to the fund page, and at the bottom of all of the fund pages, there are a list of featured or new projects, if there are any within that fund. In this case, we have highlighted 3 featured projects that take place or that occur within this fund. But before I click on an example of one of those project pages, I am actually going to take us through the fund or the proposed budget by category section. And to show you the usefulness of the table of contents section, I'm actually going to click on the table of contents, which I should have mentioned previously. In addition to being located on that homepage, there's also a table of contents link in the footer of every page, so you can always find it when you need it. So I'm going to click on the table of contents. Now, as you can see here, I could very easily go back to my introduction section or strategic priority section, or the main explore the budget section if I wanted to, or I could go straight to the fund or category sections. In this case, I'm looking for the main category page, so I'm going to click on the CIP project categories. And you'll see that this format is very similar to the fund portfolio page I was just showing you. Again, there is a pie chart that shows the various categories and the proposed budget allocations within those categories. There is also a table that presents all the same information, but in table format. This table happens to focus on fiscal year 22 instead of the entire 10-year snapshot. Once again, you can expand any of these categories and you can see all of the projects that exist within them. I'm going to minimize that and scroll beneath the table to show you the list of all of the project categories that you can see here. There's a brief explanation of what the category is, and you can click on any of these links to see a category page. In this case, I'm going to click on Building and Miscellaneous. So in the Building and Miscellaneous category, there is a brief category description, just like there is on every category page. There's also a table with all of the projects that make up this category and their proposed 10-year budgets. As you can see here, it goes all the way to 2031 if you scroll all the way to the right. This table is also a bit larger than the last table I showed you. So with this one, you're also able to scroll all the way down. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that this table, sometimes when you scroll to the bottom of it, the total doesn't show up immediately. If you ever are having trouble finding the bottom of the table, you just need to hover your cursor a little to the right of the table, and it will always take you to the very bottom. So that's just a little tip. If you're ever scrolling from the middle and it doesn't take you all the way to the bottom, you can just hover your cursor to the right and it will take you where you're trying to go. And at the bottom of this category page is another list of the featured and new projects within this category. And in order to show you an example of a project page, I'm going to click on the Fire Station number 6 and Fire Training Center project. From this page, you can see the project title. You can see a nice picture of the project and a brief caption, as well as a description of the project. If the project has a City of Hayward website, we've included the link to that in the project description. If it doesn't, one isn't included, but in this case, this project does have a City of Hayward website, so we've included a link to that. Beneath that is a snapshot of the proposed and the prior year's budgets of this project, as well as the contributing revenue sources. And in the cases where a project has a lot of great pictures that we want to make sure to include, we have included a photo gallery at the very bottom of the page, like you can see here. So this concludes the brief tutorial of our online CIP budget book. I'm now available for any questions, and I'm happy to either stop sharing my screen for questions, or I can leave it up in case you want me to show you any other parts of the CIP.
Well, just leave it there for a minute. I'll just ask you, as the picture on the left, when was...
I'm sorry, you cut out for 1 minute. What was your question?
It was about a month ago. This picture was taken about a month ago, Mayor.
We may have lost the mayor.
I think she froze. She was having internet problems last night.
Do we need to?
Yeah, she's calling me. Hold on a second.
Does anyone else hear that loud whistling?
Oh yeah, I thought that was just outside.
Yeah, I heard it too.
Yeah, I hear it as well.
It must be my my earphone. Let me change it.
She's going to call in while she's trying to reconnect.
Okay.
Aisha, did you want to?
Okay, sure.
Comment?
I have 0 comments on this. I do appreciate the staff report as well. It was kind of pretty much laid out, as well as the presentation. Looking forward to seeing kind of what the overall process looks like once we do it. But other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So lots of appreciation. This is very cool. And I think we'll get more folks hopefully engaged in the capital improvement budget. Is very accessible and user-friendly and beautiful. I really like it. And I think given that it has this opportunity to have more folks involved or engaged with it, I noticed there's a lot of places where you've explained what an acronym is, but there's also a couple places where they're not, like what is FY or this is a 10-year, that the explanation that this is a 10-year picture is in the budget page, but not necessarily on this, on this year's page. And that might be information that would be helpful to repeat.
Sure.
What's a transmittal letter? A couple small tweaks. And then the other thing, is it possible that so for instance, on the page you have up, no, not the page you have up, sorry. I'm trying to think where this page is. Yeah, so, sorry, give me 1 second to pull up what I'm thinking of here. So if I go to, let's say, a category page, right, like any category page, there's the project expenses. Yeah. So what I'm wondering is it possible, so I know the broader categories like neighborhood amenities is clickable. Is it possible to make the 21st Century Library go to that project page?
So it's not, are you asking whether it's possible to hyperlink these projects in the
Correct.
table? That would be amazing. We also wish that it had this functionality. Unfortunately, this time it doesn't, though we have communicated to OpenGov that that's on our wish list. We've been very transparent about the things on our wish list for future iterations and developments. But unfortunately, that is not a functionality that it currently offers. We would have to link to the project page in this list below.
Okay, because I totally missed the featured projects when I looked at this in preparation for the meeting. And so I just thought it wasn't there yet, but no harm, no foul. We're not making decisions tonight. I just thought that wasn't there yet. And sort of from a transparency standpoint, that this is just some of the projects. So I don't know what the answer is. I appreciate that you're already working on the wish list item. Maybe just a line up here in the meantime that says for full project description, see below or something, since it's kind of an above the fold thing. I don't know, but
yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise, great. Really appreciate that. Oh, the one other sort of in the explanation idea is also kind of, some of this is new revenue, like a new general fund allocation for the upcoming fiscal year. And most of it is funds that we've been reserving for these projects. And maybe explaining that to folks, that it's might be helpful. And I'm open to staff comment if what I'm saying doesn't make any sense. It's not that we come up with $60 million in a year, you know. Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, no, I understand that the funding is not provided in 1 year, but there are multiple years of funding. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Anything else on this item?
I am back.
Yeah, good.
I don't, the phone is even harder to deal with. I don't know. I was not having much success with the phone. And I may go out again. I don't know. They seem to think my internet is unstable. So what was covered? Did Aisha and you both have comments?
Yeah, we both made comments, yes.
Can you summarize them briefly? Just, I mean, I don't want to repeat anything. But
just that it looked great, and there were a couple things that might help folks who might be new to this process to understand what they're looking at.
Okay. I did play around with it myself online. I wasn't, I think I missed that there was that. It said printable PDF, and for some reason I didn't. I don't think I clicked on that. I had tried to download the original one into iAnnotate, which didn't work, but this one did. And while when you pointed it out at the when you were speaking, Caitlin, I was able to do that. So I now have it all in PDF on iAnnotate, which I will be able to. And this was my main concern, is that council needs a version that it can make notes on, bookmarks. But, I do see that version is not going to give us everything, but I think it's enough for us to get started and make our bookmarks and notes and whatever we want to do with it when we're getting ready to discuss it. But also have available the online that we can drill down further. I mean, most of us have a different device that we could use to be doing two at the same time. I can just see how I'm reviewing this. Change is very hard, but we're all getting more used to it. And I applaud you for seeing this change on us. That wasn't my attitude when I first read about it and tried to access it. But no, I think that this is going to be a lot more helpful to a lot of the members of our public. It's got a lot of information. People are used to, getting more and more used to dealing with things in this format. And we are providing a full copy to anyone who wants it, including a member of the public, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, those are my comments. I think it's fine. I think I'm going to enjoy getting into it. And I do appreciate the providing the annotatable. And, for city council, the rest of city council, you might want to put, or have Miriam put it out with a message about the various ways. I don't think that it can be made a part of Granicus in any way. I would imagine not.
Yeah, we'll have to coordinate with the city clerk's office on that. I'm not sure.
As able to be downloaded as an attachment in Granicus, we have enough trouble now with like big documents. And although it's maybe, I did download it into iAnnotate, but so, you may want to have some comments when you send it out to council about what they can, the best way to view it if you want to make notes and annotate and in fact, I'm just thinking that were you planning to do this at all with council? I mean, this demonstration, that was very helpful.
Yes, we can do that when we come before you during the work session.
When we're actually reviewing it?
I'm thinking maybe send it when the CIP is going to council or just before that, maybe send a link to today so that people can see the video, watch Caitlin go through it, and then they'll know how to navigate it before the meeting. Does that make sense?
great idea. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's a great idea so that they can see the presentation. Okay. Well, with that, then we'll just cut the presentation short and move on to the next item. But thank you for the work on this. I think it's, I think it's going to serve us well in the years to come. I was relieved. I had asked the city manager earlier if it was if the operating budget was going to be presented this way. And I was a little bit relieved to find out that it was not this year, but that's probably coming, right?
Yes. So we had intended to do the same with the operating budget, and we ran into some snags in the flexibility of the software and weren't able to get it to present things in the way that I wanted to put this on council, the way that we are used to seeing them, and the formatting that was being forced upon us was not going to meet the needs and be, frankly, it just wasn't going to work for us. So we're working with the vendor to try to get it into a format that is far more user-friendly, easier to understand, allows us to not only drill down in the cool ways that Kate presented to you all, but allows us to also present it in a way that council's used to seeing it, in a bit less summarized way, so that if anyone's on a single page, they can at least break down categories, look at the way revenues and expenses are all on the same page. We weren't able to get there with them at this point, and so we kind of pulled the plug on that. Are using the format that we've been using the last couple of years. That's how it will come to council, but we will also have a version online that will allow for some drill downs and things like that, ultimately working towards being able to drill down to nearly a transactional level, but not quite, but just to allow for anybody who wants to see down to as nitty grit as we go in the budget. It'll be available.
Okay, great. Thank you. With that, we will move on to the next item, which is the item number 3, a discussion of the on mayor and city council fiscal year 2022 budget.
Yes, and I don't know if I know Mary has to leave at 6, right? Are you okay to do the present? Oh, you're on mute, Mary.
I'm here and I can do it if you want, or yeah.
Okay, well, if you want to, if you want to go ahead and kick it off, and then
sure. And then you have to leave at 6. So.
Okay, great.
Let me share my screen. Or actually, Kelly, then do you? I think I can get to the presentation sharing my.
I have it up.
Okay.
Do you want me to share it? I can do that.
Sure, that would be great.
Okay, let me do that really quickly. Hold on.
I apologize. There's some background noise in my house.
Oops. No, I can't. Can you guys hear me? Can you see this screen?
Can see the screen, but it's not in presentation
Yes,
mode.
let me get
That's
there.
right.
Hold on. There we go. Lost my mouse.
There you go. Or it's still thinking. But.
There we go.
Great, you can advance the slide. So very briefly, there's basically one change that that we put into this budget for your consideration. All departments were being asked to do a 5% reduction in supplies and services budget due to the economic downturn in fiscal year 21. So we did reflect that in the supplies and services line here. In addition, I think there was a question, and we did make some updates. The benefit level went down because the new council member is not eligible for some of our PERS and things because she received them from elsewhere. So that's why that number has gone down. I think we'll just move to the next slide, and if you have questions, we can ask them all at the end. So there's like 21 of these, I think. So I don't know if it's most useful for me to read these out loud, or maybe I can get kind of a head nod if you guys were able to read them yourselves. Yeah, okay.
I think don't read them. Just if there's comments, then the council members make them when you're done with the presentation.
Great. So these will go. These 20 and there was a typo in the attachment. There was a duplicate.
Yes.
And so I took that out. So now there's 21 that you'll see here, and that is it for the slides.
Okay. Are you ready for questions then?
Yes.
Comments, and I just want to say that item, it was item number 7. It was a repeat of the measure on the charter amendment, but it should have been replaced. Shouldn't have. The TOT, the measure wasn't in there, was it?
Oh shoot! That was a mistake of mine.
And I thought that number 7 should be the TOT, rather than the a shorter repeat of the.
Oh, okay. That was I think what happened was I went in to replace some language and I replaced the wrong one. I will re-add the TOT back in again. Thank you for noting that.
And that will be the new item 7, I would think.
Yes. So then you do have 22. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, Sarah, Aisha, did you have any comments? Sarah?
I had a question. Are these completed accomplishments or, and the only reason why I say I asked if it's completed is because obviously you see the partial groups, right? But then you also.
Your sound has gone down a bit.
Can you hear me now? Sorry if my hand was on it.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. It's iPad, so it's my first time using this thing. So for at least for meetings, I wanted to ask if these are accomplished goals, because it has the parcel groups, but I also wanted to see if the Lean Innovation Workshop, since it is technically going to be accomplished by the end of this fiscal year, if that were to be highlighted a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that yes, they're accomplished, and I think can definitely add that in.
Number 17, right?
Let me see. Number 17 can reviewed and provide policy direction and guidance on the public safety community engagement process and police department 2019 and 2020 year-end report.
So for me,
that was the fall. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't consider that to be it. I thought that was more of like the chief advisory panel to provide some guidance, at least to the chief in that sense, in regards to policy. But the lean innovation is a little bit different. And, at least that's how I took it. So if we want to add an extra line in number 17, I'm fine with that. I just think that it has to be a little bit more written out.
I think we could split it out separately as a separate accomplishment and maybe talk about the presentation to Budget and Finance is scheduled for next week. And then for the, just sort of detail the outcomes from the innovation workshops that are going to be happening.
Yeah, because the other one says like 2019 and it's a little bit more further back and we didn't have the lean innovation then. So.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, and that was a process that we really engaged in that kind of led up to these policy innovation workshops, but that really was kind of separate. So I think we have two.
We also had the joint city council school board meeting, which, I think the full body, I think that's something that I really like, and I know people want more of that. Sorry if this is.
Nope.
No. That's what I have a few too. Probably Sarah does, I would imagine too. But go ahead, because these aren't the ones I had. So so go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. No, because I thought that was at least a pretty big thing, and hopefully I hear that we're supposed to work on some more. So other than that, I also think that the moratorium. I think just because we did have it more highlighted. Both, I just want to specifically say, I know it says COVID relief, but then, and obviously the funds being provided, but specifically the moratorium for both public, residential and commercial. I'm not sure if you guys want to highlight that in particular too. I thought that 14. Was something. Is it 14? Let me see. Sorry, 2 pages. Okay, yeah, never mind then. I don't know why I didn't read that part. Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Okay, good. No, but good suggestions for the other two. Sarah?
Thank you. And that's why we all look at this, because we all see different stuff. So I mostly had minor stuff. I was thinking in the mission statement, businesses and visitors of Hayward, the last sentence. I'm thinking businesses and visitors of Hayward while exercising transparent and ethical government. It's not a separate thing. Perhaps instead of and.
Is it useful if I pull up
sure
that language? Let me give me a second to do so, and we'll do it.
Sure.
Which number?
So I'm actually looking at the mission statement at the top of the page.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, it's just a minor thing, but
okay, well, you can move on while I'm
okay,
pulling up that
all
language.
Good.
Yeah.
And then the only other one I had was let's see, which number is this? Number 21. So there's the demolition of the former city center building, and then I was also thinking about something like an approved approaches to address blight and move forward projects at the Holiday Bowl and Maple and Main sites. Because I think that whole Maple and Main thing was also at least concluded in this fiscal year. If not, I don't think it started, but
received the check from the receiver for all of our code enforcement fees. It just came in the last day or so. So that was a
nice
$250,000 reimbursement.
Can you read the language that you used, Councilwoman?
Yeah, sure. So I'm looking at 21 after the word building and approved approaches to address blight and move projects forward at the Holiday Bowl and Maple and Main sites or something.
Okay. So I can share my screen right now for the, if people want to see I'm just going to do that. So there's the mission statement that you can see. I'll be fully transparent. I believe it's the mission statement that you've had for many years. So, but I
believe that. Yeah, I thought that too. And I thought, yeah, well, there's a reason I read it every year. And so this year I'm thinking that it was time to add the word while in that last phrase instead of and, while exercising transparent and ethical governance.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Is everyone comfortable with that change? I will make that edit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Was that it for you? Mine are, the thing about number 7. I was going to ask if we actually, I forgot what number this is, but actually adopted the goals for the contract negotiations or developed maybe might be a better way to.
Yeah, that's because they weren't actually adopted. So sort of.
They were seen as info item, remember?
Yeah, well, we could just, we'll figure out some alternate language. We'll work on some synonyms for adopt something like that. Yes.
Okay. And then I know when I'm thinking about the work, and I actually I didn't look through all the agendas and everything. I think you did a good job of capturing a good part of what we did last year. I wonder if we should include things like we issued a certain number of proclamations, because we seem to be doing that a lot these days, on various things. I don't know that we would necessarily list them all out, but we might want to just track those and other resolutions. We might want to look at some of the more significant ones that we did during the year. I'm willing to hear feedback on that but there's just thoughts I had. And also, we spend a lot of time doing these annual performance evaluations that we do for our appointed officers. And we last year spent a lot of time actually on some contract negotiations in that regard too. So I would include that. And I think it's good for the public to know that we do that, if anybody was paying attention to what did the city council do.
The contract negotiation one is there, right?
I think she's saying it that relates to the council appointed officers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I missed that. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I wasn't talking about the other. Yeah, I was talking about all of that would be in one one thing for, in other words, we oversaw our, the three people who directly report to us and did our job there, which, actually, I mean, I think that, and especially the contract negotiations took some effort and discussion. So those were the ones that, that's what I had.
Can I also add, so obviously, the work that we've done in regards to just the city support, I think that obviously this year, I think every city has done a lot in regards to COVID related support, but specifically, even for example, we helped AT&T with, getting a grant for Chromebooks and et cetera with our Hayward library to be able to provide for HUSD. I think that should be highlighted because our city does have significant problems with, funding our students and so forth. I think that also needs to be highlighted, as well as, and I am not 100% sure because I feel like I'm reading and interpreting differently than some folks. All the food drives. Okay. The food
distribution.
Yes. The thing that Zach does pretty much, right? If we can highlight that a little bit more significantly, if we have I don't know if we can estimate by the end of June what that number, what that weight is. I know it's several thousand pounds of food at this point, right? So being able to
in the millions of pounds of food.
So, okay. So thank you very
much.
I heard him say it the other day and I was a little shocked by the number. I just don't remember what the number was.
Yeah. And it actually transitioned to Chabot's management. But we can definitely.
But I think maybe the larger thing would be getting at the partnerships.
That's true.
Provided services to the community through partnerships with HUSD and with the
Chabot and so forth.
Call them out, the big things like that, the food thing with Chabot, Eden Township Healthcare District, and the health center. I think a mention of the maybe we don't have to list them all out, but providing community services through partnerships, particularly with, and I think Chabot should be mentioned because of the food and also the fire.
Yeah. So my thing was adding a little bit more around, because again, all of this relates to COVID, but the testing site plus the vaccine site, right? Plus our fire department is partnering with the county to provide some support around the county vaccination site. So a little bit of all that, but including the digital stuff for students and so forth. But basically, I don't know if we want to just highlight COVID and then all the things that are like sub bullet points. I don't know if that makes it nicer and easier to read.
Well, yeah, that's actually what I was wondering if it made sense to actually have like a COVID page in the budget, like at the beginning of the annual accomplishments or at the end of the annual letter or somewhere in there that just because, I imagine the fire department will highlight their work, emergency operations, community services, et cetera. And I think that's fine in terms of accomplishments, but actually having a page that summarizes the various COVID approaches and the community partnerships that made it happen might not be a bad piece.
Yeah, as you're saying that, I'm also thinking, there almost could be like an addendum to the budget book that encompasses like the stimulus plan and COVID response, like almost like a supplement, like a budget.
The COVID chapter.
Yeah, because I think all of those. Nice. So somehow like packaging that together, because we aren't going to recommend to council that we incorporate the stimulus in the operating budget for July 1, but maybe there's a way we can package all of that information, like some description of like the expenditure framework that the council has adopted for the stimulus dollars, and that those will be forthcoming, something like that along with COVID response. So Dustin's looking at me with like going, what are you doing?
I saw Director Clausen just like freak out a little bit.
It can absolutely be in the adopted budget, but it won't make it to the proposed if you want the proposed next week. So just.
Oh, I see. What you're saying is the numbers are of this regarding the stimulus and what we end up doing with it are not going to be reflected. However, it would really help us if we did in this budget layout those expenditures that are directly related to COVID, even though they're probably going to show up, the costs are going to show up in departmental budgets, right? Or
we're actually going to do our best to keep it completely separate for a couple of reasons. One, eventually the federal government is likely to come back and say, hey, we want to see exactly how you spent every single dollar of that. And so we don't want it commingled in with department budgets. So we will have it presented to council, and we will have it adopted under separate resolution, et cetera. We'll even account for it entirely separately. But
the money that was spent, isn't that reflected in expenditures in the current budget, in the budget that you're going to be presenting to us?
It is, but for reimbursement / auditing purposes, they definitely want to make sure that they can track every dollar.
And
I understand that, but it is in there. The money is in there in some way right now because we spent it, and we haven't been reimbursed yet. So what other money were we going to use other than general fund money? But I think it would be good to have what Kelly's talking about, the separate page that lays out, the COVID related expenses, and it can be explained that these are, these expenditures are incorporated in the budget, and I don't know how much you want to say about it, may be eligible for reimbursement through, but that's all in a way to really let the public know what is being done. And, I'm sure that if I weren't on the city council and I were reading in the paper about, the stimulus and that cities are getting this money, I wouldn't be interested maybe in knowing how the city spent it. Or what the city was doing. So I think we should have, there are probably going to be questions about that.
Yeah, and my apologies. My comments were related to future expenditures as it relates strictly to the stimulus dollars. So certainly we will have actuals in there for previous years that we spent on the pandemic. It will also have some summarized information, certainly not detailed transaction type level info, but how the money was spent, what we've done with it, the services provided, included in likely in the budget message at a higher level, and we can also put together some information, for lack of a better term, sort of a way to be able to recognize all that's been accomplished over the last now 13 months.
Okay. All right. Good suggestions. Anything else on this item? Okay. With that, we will, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to, and thank you, Mary, and you got to stay until until it was over. Okay. Then we're moving on to item number 4, the fiscal year 2022 budget process update.
And I let part of the cat out of the bag moments ago, although I don't think it's all that much of a surprise. We're working to provide council with the proposed operating budget by the end of next week for you all to review, preview, take notes, etc., so that on May 15th we can have a robust conversation where we'll walk through the overall budget as well as department budgets at a more detailed level, and allow council some time to ask questions about each department's operations, what's gone on over the last year, what we're seeing happening over the next year as it relates to the budget, and allow council to ask questions of each of the departments at our Saturday budget work session on May 15th. So very excited for that. Without getting too much into the details, I will say we are still working to try to balance the general fund budget. It's a challenge every year. And it took me by surprise today when I took a look at, we're trying to provide council with a way to sort of not just look forward, but to look back as well, to see what normal used to look like, so that we can have a better idea as to what it is that we're working to what challenges that we're trying to work through, and what the current reality looks like in comparison. And I was shocked to look that over the past in fiscal year 18, in comparison to fiscal year 2022, we've got PERS expenses that have jumped approximately. Let me see. I've got it here on my screen. From 23.4 million to 37.6 million in the general fund. And so when we talk about, it's a challenge every year, and we don't know, even when we're trying to control our expenses, it's challenges like that make it incredibly difficult. Even when the city's staff is not expanding, we're paying, more, significantly more for the same amount of effort that we were providing before, simply because that's what PERS tells us that we have to pay, which is painful, and it is also part of that reality that we're facing. We will continue to work towards it, continue to offer council possible ways to help to balance the budget. I'm eternally optimistic that we will always get close to that balance point, and that we will finish the year in a better position than we anticipated. Last year would be the first year that we didn't do that. Although, well, I take that back. We finished the year in a much better place than we expected to when we adopted the budget. Although in comparison to the previous year, it was painful to look at. So we're hoping that this next year will be much different. Again, this does not factor any of the stimulus funds into that general fund budget. We'll be bringing that to council separately so that we can sort of keep the dollars separated, so that when there becomes a time, if we are able, or if we are ever asked to provide full accounting for it, we will be able to do that cleanly, clearly, and be able to answer any questions on it to our friends at the federal and or state government.
And I think, Dustin, we talked about, I just want to make sure that, similar to how we track Measure C, our intention is to track the stimulus dollars in sort of a sub-fund of the general fund, so that we can be very clear on reporting both internally to our organization, to the Treasury Department, to the community, about what we're spending those dollars on, and how they're getting allocated. So I think that's going to be really important, so that folks can track that separately from the general fund.
Mayor, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yes, that's right. When my phone rings. So is that it for it? Okay.
That's all.
So committee members, comments, anyone?
I actually don't have any.
Sarah?
Right.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I don't really, I think the process is fine. And, I really like it that you're moving for the, the early June adoption, which you've been doing for the last couple of years, except for last year when we were, caught up in the, or not. Yeah, it was last year. Right. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, I didn't freeze. I just lost my, so, but I really do think that we do need to have some information or some idea at council, when we see this, if we're going to see a deficit, it's like, can we balance a budget with the use of reserves, with the understanding that some of what we spent last year is going to be reimbursed, and it has been spent. So the money for reimbursement will be, able to be used, put into the reserve fund or whatever, or to compensate for that. I think council's going to want to have some idea of what we can recover from last year's budget, as a result of the stimulus money. besides what we're just going to use going forward. Because I do think we have, I don't know what that is right now, or even, I mean, I know we authorized the city manager right off the bat to spend at least one, if not $2 million right off the bat that was spent, but three, okay. I know that we did get some reimbursement already from the federal government for some of that, but and I mean, we're going to be counting staff time, aren't we? I mean, Zach was, very occupied, and other staff members in the food distribution all year. So yeah, I think it would help council to know, or to have more peace of mind about what you're presenting us, knowing that it most likely will change with the when we start counting in the stimulus money that can be used for things that we did legitimately, use last year for purposes related to COVID. And also revenues lost, right? Expectations. I mean, I don't know how sometimes, revenues don't always come in exactly as predicted, but still we can clearly, everyone knows, like TOT, that significant drop in TOT.
The stimulus legislation does specifically say that cities can replace revenues lost due to COVID. So I think sales tax, TOT, UUT, we've seen a huge drop in the UUT, basically from industrial users that were not occupying office buildings for most of last year. So those are eligible. So yes, absolutely. And that's, I think that sort of supplement, or what the sort of extra budget chapter that might be included as part of the adopted budget, not the one that's you're going to see for May 15th, but the one that gets for final adoption. I think we can maybe incorporate some of those items.
Okay.
Yeah. We're bringing an item next week to council to discuss some of the stimulus money as well. And so I think, at a high level, we'll get an idea for what it is that we're trying to sort of replenish and rebuild the city's reserves. No more than, what we used during the last year, spread over 2 fiscal years.
Right.
The last 13 months, so that we have a good picture of that. And, just for as an, FYI piece, we're still diligently seeking reimbursement from both state and federal government for the expenses that we've incurred that we have not been made whole for. Throughout this process. If my gut is that at a certain point, whether it's FEMA or whomever turns around and tells us, at some point someone will probably tell us, well, yes, that's what the stimulus was for. So, we're denied. But that doesn't until we hear that, we will continue to diligently seek reimbursement for the expenses, including staff time, et cetera.
Yeah. I think we have a lot of very, what should be legitimate ones, and it will, laying it out will help us in the long run to, probably recoup if we, if we're just upfront about what we did. Okay. Any other comments on that? That brings us to item number 5, reviewing and approving the 2021 agenda planning calendar.
And I can pull that up on my screen, although it's a little boring at this point. Oh, I got the wrong one. I'm sorry. 1 second. We're running out of meetings here to discuss for the fiscal year. We'll put this together again for next fiscal year, as we do each year here. So let me see if I can figure out how to share my screen.
I'm looking at it right now, and I see that we are going to get a report on the COVID-19 funding update at our May meeting, which I forgot that was on there, but yeah.
All right, can you all see my screen?
Yes, and at the last meeting, it was suggested that we might cancel our June meeting and have the debrief in July.
That's possible, yeah.
yeah, that was my question as well. And then that the public banking might, if the state regs are out, maybe that also gets added in July, but the June is dark.
I am certainly open to that idea.
Okay. And oh yeah, community foundation funding. When were we going to talk about that? I thought we were going to talk about that earlier.
We can certainly do that in July as well.
Or, you know, we might be able to do that in May. I think, let me talk with Mary and see, although probably I'm going to retract that statement since she is one of the co-leads on getting all of the staff reports for the policy innovation workshop, which is going to be on May 18th. So I don't think she's also leading the community foundation. So let's push that to a little further out just to give her some breathing room.
Okay, but I know we used some money from that fund for COVID related. Not that I don't know whether that's possible to get that reimbursed. That's donation money, probably not, right? But still, yeah. Anyway, it does reflect some of what we did and how we paid for it. And also, I just think that we need to be a little more on top of that right now, since people are making donations and, are going to want to know what it's being used for. Okay. Anything else, Aisha?
Yeah. So the only thing I'd like to bring up is that as we are working on this policy innovation workshop, and, obviously we know it's going to be a slow process, if you will, to consider if we are going to eventually, obviously we're not going to roll it out come June. So as we are moving forward, if we do consider a resolution saying that we are intending to do whatever thing we end up adopting. So I just want to highlight that. I know that people are still very concerned about our public safety goals in the future. So I do just want to highlight that. I don't think it needs to be here, but when we do talk about the budget and where it lies and some of the efforts we put around it. So just bring that up.
We may want to just maybe we could do quarterly updates to budget and finance on the implementation of some of the projects. That might be one way to have a sort of check-in around it. If that might.
Yeah, I think that's fine as well. But then also, like I said, in the budget as we adopted with, we're going to have more and more people call in the coming weeks. So I just want to highlight some of the public concerns versus, what we're doing and just being transparent as possible as to our intention in fiscal year 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, because we will. Yeah. That is interesting. It won't.
Yeah, let's see what the recommendations are. And then if there are things that are part of a longer plan, is there a way to communicate that? I mean, as sort of Elisa said last night, there are short-term, I'm assuming there'll be some short-term and some midterm and some long-term. And so where that information is kept and communicated, I suspect that will all be part of that process. But so let's see what we've got first.
Right. We'll probably have to make some, like we do mid-year adjustments as we.
So it's not necessarily, and I get everything that we're trying to say. It's more just ensuring that we are transparent and we say that, yes, we're going to do this now. And then, 6 months, 9 months down the road, we're going to be able to complete this or acknowledge this or touch base. And then the quarterly updates are good for transparency. So
I think I hear what you're saying, Councilmember. We'll have maybe on, we'll have to see what the action on May 18th is actually adoption of
100%,
outlining the recommendations and whatever, so yes, you want to actually adopt something that says, here's our plan, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Cause I've seen a little bit so far and, I think there's still some left to be answered to. So.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? Any committee member or staff announcements? I don't think I have participants up. I don't think people are raising their hands today. Nope. Seeing no hands, then I think we can.
Actually, Mayor, if I may, real quickly. And I don't know how many of you got an alert relating to a rating from a rating corporation being rescinded for the city being rescinded from Moody's. I'm working with Moody's at the moment. It will likely be rescinded, and the rating, the press release will be rescinded and reissued. They issued this press release saying that they were removing the rating from the city and gave no reason, and it's unfortunate the way that it was done. It could lead someone to think that the city has been not performing well, or not behaving with fiscal responsibility. In fact, it's related specifically to a debt that the city has fully repaid, and that's the reason that that we're no longer going to pay them to offer us a rating. The only reason they cited was that they were doing it for business reasons. The business reason is the city's not going to pay them for a rating that we don't need. But I'm working with them. I was assured today that we would have something by the end of the week, as soon as it gets through their legal review. But wanted to highlight that to the committee in case you all received some sort of alert on from various news agencies.
That is very interesting and sort of alarming, but thank you for letting us know. And I assume that if this does get out in any, larger form, larger audience, that we will be ready to, respond and answer any questions anybody may have about it.
Of course.
Okay. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay. With that, I think that we can be adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Hey, Dustin, do you happen to have a printed budget book for the current year?
Recording stopped.
For fiscal year 21?
Yes.